Hello, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. Thank you for staying with us all throughout 2020. I know I wasn't as consistent as I was supposed to be, but this was more of a labor of love, something that I wanted to do, to share some of the wisdoms that I had grasped and the information that I had gotten. One of the things that I truly believe is if you know something and it can be useful for others, it is best to share. I hope 2021, I pray 2021 brings the best for each and every one of you, your families, your friends, all the people that you cherish, love, and care about, the people that you speak to and you interact with. I wish everybody the absolute best. I personally believe that 2021 would begin to ascend us towards a state of universal consciousness. I say this because this is also what I want. I would love to live in a world where people see themselves as a part of a universal consciousness rather than individuals locked in pockets of despair and prejudice and all sorts of negativity. I think we have to come away from this existing system, this existing ideology, this existing veil of deceit that has been put over our eyes, that has guided us for the last 100 or so years. We have to move towards a new paradigm, a new world, a new reality, a new consciousness, a new way of treating each other and especially ourselves. We have to move away from hate and separation and selfishness and self-centeredness and confusion. Move towards equity, clarity, love, tolerance, things that make us humane and things that make us better individuals. This is really a short video. It has no primal purpose other than to continue what I have been doing. Like I said, Happy New Year and Happy 2021. We're at the beginning of the year and we can see there are a few things that are happening still, things that are carried over from last year, things that will possibly have an impact on the way the rest of us live our lives. We're still in the pandemic situation. We're still looking at the elections around the world, especially United States, and the impact that would have on us politically, socially, economically, and especially economically, I would say. We're looking at the vaccine situation and the complications attached to the vaccine situation and the reception of the vaccine, and we're looking at Africa particularly and the political situation there, the economic situation there, the level of consciousness, the awareness that should actually be beginning to develop there with regards to the future of the youth and where they want to take their countries and the continent as a whole too, and generally where we should focus on. There's a video I was watching yesterday which was talking about reconstructing Africa and the aspect of us being able to look at all the resources that we have being used for the betterment of us and having the kind of leadership that would be able to resist the external pressures regardless of how strong they are and put us first and our people first with regards to developing the continent and developing the individual nations within the continent, but developing as a collective unit. Most of these things are socioeconomic and political. I tend to glance over them, but my focus is not really on that, because whichever way we look at it, a political situation really refers to somebody representing the interests of a collective. The collective comprises of individuals that come together to form a communion. And the individual, really, if the individual makes the necessary change that they want to make in order to have a better society, then the society as a collective will be better because the individual makes that effort to change. The individual takes the responsibility of change upon their shoulders, and they work hard in effecting that change because they realize that their character is paramount towards that change sustaining. So I am after the individual character. I'm after us changing ourselves individually, looking at ourselves individually and doing what we need to do in order to become better versions of ourselves. So the world that we want, that we complain that we do not have, that we want, we are prepared to live in it because we are a living example of it. And that's my message. This is what my focus this year would be all about. It would be mostly about my changes, the changes that I make daily, the changes that I make that I can sustain, and the character that I want to have. And I wrote something in my book, the first chapter, really literally the first chapter, is called That Man. I'll be reading that next time I do a video because I think that is pertinent towards character development as well. So that man would be what I would read next. Well, today I just want to glance over something that, a little experiment today that I decided to carry out. I carry out these experiments, but I haven't carried it out with this level of nuance. I decided to pay particular attention to all interactions that I had with other people and pay attention particularly to the interpretation of that situation as I go through my day and realize whether the impact or the stress that I feel sometimes is actually based on them, on my interpretation. So I started off this morning with when my daughter woke me up and I was exercising and she came into the room, and normally I'd be like, oh, I'm exercising, and just the interactions, and then how I interpreted her coming into the room. Was I upset? Did it perturb me? Did I try and conceal it? And I went on to, we have a housemaid and she's doing this and that, and things that maybe arranging something that wasn't put the way I wanted it to be put, in the particular location I wanted it to be put, and how that made me feel. And I actually stopped and thought about it. How did this make me feel? Because normally you don't think about it. I don't think about it. I will just feel the feeling based on the interpretation of what that situation means to me. I'll just feel it. I wouldn't sit down and be like, is this correct to feel this way? Is this really that important? And the feeling that I have, is it really a true manifestation of what is going on? Or am I just projecting something that isn't really there? And am I just feeling something that I can afford not to feel? And is that feeling going to impact my day? Is it going to spoil the way I feel about the rest of the actions that I take or the participations that I engage in? The people that I participate with and in. So next thing, I get into the car and then I drive, and then people cut me up, and I'm like, the irritation of somebody cutting you up through traffic and people in front. I live in Bali, so it's kind of hectic. Bikes here, left, right, and center. And I'm now looking at myself getting perturbed, getting a bit upset based on all these activities, and I'm wondering, why am I upset? Is this really worth being upset about? How are they violating my fundamental principles? How are they violating my beliefs? How are they violating my security, my safe space? How are they doing anything to me that is worth me being upset about? And that really stuck at me because I have this thing called road rage, a little bit of it, not rage as per, but I get a little bit intense when I'm in the car. My daughter always says that, why do you get so upset when these things happen? And I'm looking at myself and I'm like, okay, so he cut me up, so what? What has that really done? Has that changed the reality that I'm experiencing? Has that in any way affected me positively or negatively? Has it taken something physically away from me? Has it, apart from the interpretation that I've given it, what has it done to me? It's only that interpretation. There's been no altercation, there's no accident, there's no damage, nothing has been done. Nothing has been realized. I just felt in some way that I've been violated, or I felt like I've been taken advantage of because I assumed that the space was mine and mine alone. I assumed that I had my entitlements because of the way the road traffic is set up. I assumed a lot. But all those things, are they really that important in terms of how I should feel? I'm talking about how I feel about myself, because the way I feel about myself would determine very much the way I feel about the people around me, and it would also determine the way I treat people around me. So if I feel good about myself, if everything I feel about me feels good, then everybody I treat will feel that good. And how I act will be based on how I feel about myself. So that's why it was very important for me to actually track these nuances, the little ones. The experiment today was about the little ones. It wasn't about the big ones. I just wanted to look at the little ones. When I came into the office and the staff brought the information for me to sign, and when I was on the phone, somebody called and they interrupted me, and all these things, I started to track, how do I feel? Because most of these things happen on automatic. I am on automatic. I am not tracking them. I'm just responding to them. It's almost like your subconscious is doing what it's supposed to do. I'm always on automatic, simply because I use the excuse of being busy, being productive, as I would call it. But the productivity that I'm looking towards, the gain that I'm looking towards achieving, how is it affecting my health? Because how I feel, the stress that I impact upon myself, I talked about stress quite a while ago last year. That stress really is the internal pressure that I put. The external pressure may exist, but the internal pressure is the stress. So how am I stressing myself based on the interpretation that I give to events that are happening around me? And that interpretation that I give, is it accurate? And does it serve me? These are very, very powerful questions, very important questions. And I'm going to spend most of this year trying to answer these questions for myself, to have a better understanding of me and how I should feel most of the time. And these things that I've trained my mind to respond to and feel about, are they really necessary? Are they serving me? And can I retrain my mind to see things differently? Not to see situations as a direct violation of my space or my safe space, and not to always look for the negative or look for conflict. And I'm talking about me. These are all my characteristics. Not to be so pedantic, not to be so judgmental. To actually be able to see more than one meaning to every event, and try and see if I could take the most constructive meaning and apply that to my feeling. And so I can interpret situations differently and not feel like everybody who's cutting me up in traffic is trying to offend me or trying to in some way stop me from getting to work on time. And everyone who's looking at me strange has some prejudice about me simply because they don't approve of my skin color or what or the other. You see, there's so many assumptions that I make based on what I would assume to be, or what I would have actually informed myself to be evidence, which is not really evidence. They're just my assumptions based on my interpretation of a situation that may or may not be accurate. And maybe that interpretation serves me, maybe it doesn't. But it's up to me to actually look at all these interpretations and find out which one serves me, which one is accurate, and which one actually helps me become the person that I want to become. Because ultimately, that's the whole point. The point is, I want to be a better person. I want to be a better version of myself. So what do I do that aids me in accomplishing that? I know I've danced around a little bit, but the end objective is still the same. I want to be a better version of me. This is what I want to do. I want to be a better version of myself. I want to be a more tolerant, a more forgiving, a more loving, a more appreciating, a more embracing, a more universal, a more collective, a more spiritual, a more emotional, a more hugging, a more happy, a more loving, a more forgiving version of myself. Yeah. Not somebody who holds things in. I want to be able to put everything out there, and so I can live freely, breathe freely, sleep at night without thinking about things that are not necessarily giving me peace of mind. That is the final resting place. Peace of mind. And with that, I would cut this video short, and thank you very much for giving me your audience. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click the like button if you like the video, share the videos if you like them, and hit the notification button if you want to get notified when I do any more videos. I will do them as frequently as possible this year, but only moving in this particular direction that I want to move to. We will do some videos for the InspireWear series, because I did say that we're going to actually start the InspireWear series. You can buy the InspireWear series by going to www.ea-2.com. You can also get them on Tokopedia. If you're in Indonesia, you can go to Tokopedia and type in InspireWear, and we have a store there. And you can also get them from Indolinen, I believe. If you go to their website, there's a section there called InspireWear, and you can get them there. I'll leave all of this in the show notes. So if you want to buy any one of our t-shirts like this, any of the new series coming out, please patronize us, buy one of our t-shirts, wear them. The tagline of the new t-shirt is "Wear Your Wisdom," which is what I'm working on. I'm going to release 3 or 4 of those t-shirts called "Wear Your Wisdom InspireWear," which is promoting the brand, and we will try and make things a little bit more interesting this year. And with all said and done, thank you very much again for your audience. I wish you a happy day, and refuse to lie to yourself, and fall in love with yourself more intensely than you did before. God bless. Bye-bye.